Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Thursday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I can assure you that no green beer went into the making of this video. We will be talking about...
Nor any animals harmed.
Right. We will be talking about a number of political issues, local and state, from this past week. Pretty interesting turn of events last night, Wednesday night in East Chicago, where the library board, a fractured library board, took some actions, didn't they, Doug?
Right. Well, there were basically two meetings. There was the majority of the library board, so hence a quorum, you know, they could legally meet, the 4 members. And then the 3 members met with a former board member who was just kicked off the board and you know, replaced by the new appointee. The minority met in the library meeting room, and the majority met in, you know, basically carved room out in the stacks for themselves. So the majority board fired the library director, Manny Montalvo, who is facing a lot of controversy. He's got a state board of accounts.
He's got a little baggage with him, carrying a little baggage with him. But he was carrying that baggage with him when he was appointed. So
well, but it's gotten worse. I mean, you know, he got that state board of accounts audit that is going after him for, you know, what is it, $12,000 some odd dollars. It's a significant amount of money. And
then he had that little trouble in Chicago before.
Right.
He was arrested after causing a disturbance on a South Shore train. He and his wife, and also there's questions about his frankly his qualifications for the job.
Of course, the East Chicago Public Library has always been kind of a political haven, unlike a lot of the other library boards or a lot of the other that are more low profile. The East Chicago Library Board has always been a more high profile board because it is clearly a political patronage job, and one of the qualifications for being director is being loyal to the guy who appoints you. So you don't need to know the Dewey Decimal System.
And the problem for Manny Montalvo is the guy who appointed him is no longer the mayor.
And that's a problem for him.
That is a problem.
He who lives by the mayor shall die by the mayor.
Right.
You know.
Where do you think this is going to go? Obviously, there's been legal action threatened on the part of some of the people. I think Carmen Fernandez, one of the lawyers whose contract was voided last night, threatened a lawsuit against the city, a wrongful dismissal. Where does this go?
I think it's going to another wrongful dismissal lawsuit that will go nowhere. But we'll tie up, you know, city resources and dollars, so the taxpayers are on the hook for another one.
Well, that's the problem. The problem is this: a wrongful dismissal suit is not going to go anywhere. They serve at the pleasure of the board,
or displeasure in this case.
They do not serve at the displeasure of the board. And you're right. East Chicago, a city which can, you know, really not afford at this time to be paying off a lot of legal bills, is going to be stuck without a lot of them.
Yeah. Let's move over to Porter County, where this week the county council was discussing maybe kind of a nice problem, depending on the way you look at it, was how to spend this big wad of cash that they have on hand.
$11 million.
Yeah.
Well, that's really funny because, I mean, here we are on St. Patrick's Day talking about a pot of gold that they're trying to decide what to do with.
Obviously, the Porter County Leprechaun has come down in the right place. Yeah. End of the rainbows in Porter County this week.
So anyway,
and the $11 million is the interest on that money.
It's the interest on money.
It's not the capital itself.
That came from the sale of the county hospital some years ago.
Right.
Which the county has basically been sitting on, not sure what to do with it. And
well, now, you know, they were not sure what to do with it because they wanted to be guaranteed that the new hospital would be built, would be opened. Well, you know, all it takes is driving down Highway 49 and you see the construction is well underway. So now they've got to figure out, we've got this money, what do we do with it? They're looking at, you know, different health initiatives, for instance.
Are there any restrictions on how it can be spent?
No.
And there was
I mean, it has to be legal, but
well,
There was a study done on the
This
the
isn't
county
Lake
facilities.
County.
There was a study done on the county facilities which outlined I think more than $5 million in maintenance and repair needed to county buildings. So that's certainly an area where that money can
Yeah,
be
I
spent.
mean,
Put to
so the
good
question
use.
is, do you want to spend the money on delayed maintenance, and then what do you do, years from now when you need more money? Do you
Right.
just tap that resource, or do you figure that's an ongoing expense that?
Well, assuming this is interest. Interest will continue to accrue on the capital.
Yeah.
So this isn't like
Assuming you
you're-
don't touch the capital.
Exactly.
Right.
And
Right.
and as long as they restrict themselves to the interest, I mean, you're going to continue to get interest.
And it seems like, you can talk about stimulus here. This would be a little bit of a mini stimulus if you injected, millions of dollars into the Porter County economy and spent that. Well, that would actually create jobs, and in this current economic environment, why not do that?
Well, the question is how, which jobs are you going to create? Are you going to meet a new need, or are you going to meet an existing need? What's the value to the taxpayers of
Yeah.
this?
Now, what oversight is there on the expenditure of this money?
County council, basically.
So they're basically saying, trust us, we'll spend the money.
Right.
correctly.
Right.
And I guess if they don't spend it correctly, then the voters have their recourse. So.
Right.
And let's move on to the State House now, where this past week, an old issue that has come up in past years came up again, the issue of a gay marriage, an amendment to the state constitution to ban gay marriage. Indiana already has a gay marriage ban in place. Why would they need a state amendment?
Well, two reasons. One is constitutional amendments are kind of trendy right now, and two is it's a lot harder to change a law if it's
Constitutional.
kind of
Right.
hardwired into the Constitution
Right.
versus a law that isn't. Because to change the Constitution, you have to have two successive legislatures. I mean, there has to be an election between the two to give the voters a chance to change the members.
Now,
Plus then the voters have to, and then the voters have to approve it as well. So
this is clearly a
it's
highly
harder.
politically charged issue. I don't know. What do you think? I'm not particularly certain it's wise to tinker with the Constitution for something that is such a. It has become a partisan issue as well. Is there a problem with that? At least philosophically,
Well,
taking the Constitution and making it do things it wasn't really designed to do.
I think the point that you made about it being then much harder to reverse, if you look at the trends in terms of acceptance of gay marriage, it's something that's trending upwards. The younger people in this country are overwhelmingly in favor of allowing gay marriage. Older people are opposed to it. Those trend lines will continue to move in favor of gay marriage. So you would
Presumably.
suspect that eventually gay marriage would be the law of the land. Well, if they could pass this, it would make it more difficult to
right.
If
legalize gay marriage.
Of course, if the United States Constitution, or if the United States Supreme Court said it was legal, then
That would override
Right.
state constitution. If they said any law against gay marriage is unconstitutional, that would obviously override this. So
Right.
now of course, one of the compromises that some states have reached, and I'm thinking of the state of Illinois, is to recognize a civil union and not recognize it as a marriage. Oftentimes, a marriage is more of a church thing. I mean, you can't have a civil marriage, but that's kind of the domain there. And if you allow a civil union, there's nothing to say it has to be sanctioned by the church, but the state then it allows people who are in a relationship to collect the same type of benefits that other people who are married can collect.
Right. I mean, what's the difference between a civil union and a marriage? Semantics.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, it all depends on who's blessing the
Right.
yeah. The other question here is this is seemingly going against, I think, the governor's Mitch Daniels' wishes, because he has talked about the needs, the overwhelming need to focus on our economic issues, our issues of debt, and to push maybe for the time being the social issues to the side. We need to hash out these really important, urgent needs rather than engage in these kind of long-standing fights.
I mean, is this just kind of a political sideshow? And we've seen a lot of political sideshows going on in Indiana.
Sure.
Is this just another attempt to make a certain segment of the voters happy by doing something that really will probably not succeed anyhow?
Well, it will also make a certain segment of the voters unhappy. So, I've said before that this is a battle for the soul of the Republican Party. Is it going to be, the old?
Well, and I think most people look at this pretty cynically and say this is a colossal waste of time. Gay marriage is illegal in Indiana. This changes nothing currently. This helps no one currently in terms of the economic needs, creating jobs in the state, bettering the.
And I don't know that that's a cynical way to look at it. I think maybe a better word is that's a pragmatic way to look at it. It's are we wasting a lot of time on something we don't really need to be wasting time on, and ignoring weightier issues?
There have been businesses testify against this, saying that would hurt their ability to recruit top talent by restricting who would be able to come to a state
right,
like this.
Who will be able to get the benefits? But now I would assume that I would assume that a business is free to give whatever benefits it wishes to its employees.
Right, but it gets complicated if let's say Robert got married in Montana, for instance, and then Indiana didn't recognize marriages that were performed in Montana. Well, then what status does that give to his marriage to his wife? Well, that would complicate it unnecessarily, and it would happen just like that for insurance benefits, for instance, for gay marriages, gay civil unions, whatever you want to call it. So, or people who are living together but not married, it complicates that as well. So, that's why the business part of the business world would not like that.
Would not like what now?
Would not like to see this in the Constitution.
Well, I see, that's what I thought you were going to do. I just wanted to make sure you were
right.
clear on that.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think that's as clear as we're going to get. So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Political Roundtable.